What are some psychological life hacks you can do to give you an advantage in situations? When you first meet people, try to notice their eye color while also smiling at them. It might be because you look for a second or two longer. But all I can tell you is that people really respond to it. The physical effects of stress, increased breathing rate, heart rate mirror identically the physical effects of courage. So when you're feeling stress from any situation, immediately reframe it. Your body is getting ready to do courage. It's not feeling stress. For interviews, I recommend altering your psychological state beforehand. Tell yourself, I've known these people all my life. We're old friends catching up. I can't wait to see them. Visualize the experience. Shaking hands. Making eye contact. Having conversation. What things can you not wait to tell them? Hold an open pose. Stand with your legs apart. Hands on your hips. And shoulders back while doing this, and smile. This may sound cliche, but you are in charge of your own psychological state and the power of suggestion is strong. My personal favorite is when people are angry at me. If I stay calm, it'll get them even angrier. And be ashamed about it after. After a person breaks up with someone, they are at their most vulnerable state for manipulation because of the flood of emotions. This could be used for the good or evil purposes. When my buddy broke up with his manipulative girlfriend, I made sure he had a good day. But I should have manipulated him. Maybe you manipulated him into thinking you're a great friend. No. I was genuine back then. But nowadays I don't trust him. Hence my comment. False attribution of arousal. When you take somebody out on a first date, take them somewhere exciting that will get their heart beating. E.g. roller coaster or horror film. This gets their adrenaline up. It makes them think they enjoy spending time with you rather than the activity. People have a certain image of themselves and will fight tooth and nail to cling to it. Use this information wisely. In sales. Though I guess it could be applied in other ways, once you make the sales pitch, don't say anything else. My boss at an old job was training me and just giving me pointers. I was working at a gym trying to sell memberships. He told me that once I got all the small talk out of the way and presented the prices, that the first person to talk will lose. It didn't seem like a big deal, but it actually worked. Often there were long periods of awkward silence as the person tried to come up with some excuse. But usually they bought. It was quite impressive actually. I remember the last time this thread showed up. Someone posted that if you ask someone to do you a small favor, cognitive dissonance will make them believe that because they did that favor, they therefore must like you. After all, why would they help someone they disliked? I don't have a source unfortunately, but I believe the original comment did if anyone can find the previous thread. I think Ben Franklin said this originally and it's right on the money. Ben Franklin is right on the money. But only the hundreds at it. My very first gold. I feel special. Close bracket. If you're in a group meeting and you suspect that someone in there might come after you about something, sit right next to them. They were hoping that the group would provide some sort of her defense. But if you're right next to them, it can't be anything other than personal. This tends to make them back off. Or at least substantially temper what they say. Source. Had a job with a huge target painted on my back for years. When I worked in retail, I had a tendency to get real curt with rude customers. When I realized I was just taking the bait, I decided to be super nice even when they would get openly hostile. Some of them would get even crazier and they looked like tools. The best one I ever heard was, apparently, if you have a warm hand when you shake somebody's hand, you immediately become a more desirable person to get along with. Lesson. Warm your hand in your pants before shaking hands with someone. Who doesn't love sweaty ball hands though? The way hands were meant to smell. You don't have to. You get to. Edit. Regarding cancer. I have to have chemo. Double quote. I get to have chemo. Double quote. Which one would you rather say? Have to is a great way to remove agency and make yourself a victim of your own life. I'm not saying that cancer is great or fun, or that this trick will magically make your suffering go away. But it will reframe it so that you are an agent in your own life and adds a dollop of gratitude. Got cancer? You can be a monstrous cancer patient or an inspiration. You can give the FCK up or you can go down fighting. I've watched both, and the quality of one is far better than the other. Stand up straight. No slouching. Hands out of pockets. And head held up high. It's not just a cliche, you literally feel better and people around you feel more confident in you. Not always a must, but try to dress well for important occasions, including interviews. If you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you'll do good. In a negotiation setting, always start by anchoring, meaning start on a more radical extreme end of what you expect to get. That way, you and the other side can work to that result, rather than you locking yourself out of it. Avoid saying "I think" and "I believe" unless absolutely necessary. These are phrases that do not evoke confidence and will literally do you no good. When playing a game of cards with casual players, mutter to yourself the exact opposite of what you want to happen. So if you want your opponents to fold, then mutter, "Please don't fold. Please don't fold." An overwhelming amount of times, the opponent will fall for the bait. When feeling anxious, clean up your house apartment. You will feel happier and more accomplished than before. From an academic standpoint, this is mostly just armchair psychology. But from a real-world standpoint, these have all worked very well in my personal and professional lives. Promise yourself you'll never talk shit about other people. Even when the people around you are talking shit. Even when you agree with the shit they're saying. You don't have to make a big deal of it. Just don't partake in it. Once people get the idea you're not into saying mean shit about other people behind their backs, the amount of shit they talk around you will decrease. It isn't fun to talk shit unless everybody's talking shit. Your decision to stop talking shit and their eventual reaction to you not reciprocating the shit talking will positively affect both of you, as well as your relationship. I don't know. For me, since I made this change in how I interact with people, the amount and quality of my friendships has grown. People will trust you more if they haven't listened to you gossip about other people. You will be seen as more a more positive person than other friends who do talk shit. The gap gossiping used to fill will be replaced with way more interesting and or intimate conversation too. IDK, just stop talking shit and be kind. Edit. To whoever gave me gold. Thank you so much. I love you. Make it a practice to get rid of filler words and phrases such as up, like, you know, etc. Instead, use short pauses to gather your thoughts before speaking, though avoid Shatner-style pauses. Using filler words keys whoever you're talking to that you are thinking about what you're saying. Leaving them out makes these thinking spots less noticeable, since you aren't essentially announcing to the world that you are thinking, and makes you seem more sure of yourself. Refer to people you've just met by their name. People loving being referred to by their name, and it will establish a sense of trust and friendship right away. Say your friend introduced you to Peter. After 5 minutes he decides to leave. Don't just say, "Bye," but instead say, "Bye Peter." Double quote. Late to the party, blew it. If you're playing beer pong and your opponent is playing like he sold his soul to the devil, all you have to do is ask what he is doing to with his opposite throwing hand. "Damn bro, you're playing hella good. What are you doing with your left hand when you shoot?" Double quote. This will make him conscious of his left hand and he will start messing up almost every time. Drink well, my friends. This has been posted before, but if you want to stare at someone unashamedly, look directly past them and wait for them to try and meet your eyes. When they fail to do that, they'll look around, usually nervously for a second, and won't look at you again for some time. This is your chance to straight up stare at this person for at least 45 seconds. If you're into psychological hacks, then you must read Get Anyone to Do Anything, also on iTunes audiobooks. It's a fascinating Easy to understand book written by a psychologist. The hacks are divided up into chapters. How to catch someone out on a lie, for example. Brilliant technique. I gave this to an old manager I used to work with. He was having problems with a board member that hated him and wouldn't agree with any of his suggestions regardless of how good they were. After applying techniques in the book, that all changed. I also used it to get a date with a woman who I considered way out of my league. It worked, I'm ashamed to say. If you really want something from someone, frame it as an offer rather than a request. When Teddy Roosevelt was running for president, his campaign printed out 3 million leaflets with a picture of Teddy and a copy of a campaign speech. The campaign then realized that they didn't have the rights to the photo. Instead of explaining the situation to the photographer, which would have given him leverage to ask for a lot of money, the campaign made an offer that they would use the picture, giving the photographer lots of publicity if the studio paid them $250. The studio paid the money. A Navy lifer I worked with taught me the C1, do one, teach one method. The last step is the most vital step for your comprehension. If you are taught a new task at work, most people learn to do the task and then perform the task. If you find another employee to teach what you just learned, you will comprehend the concept better and retain the info for much longer. Whenever I train a new associate at work, I ask them to go show another co-worker how to do the task they just learned. Magic. When a group of people laugh, people will instinctively look at the person they feel closest to in that group. Read. Wanna know who wants to bone who? Look at who they look at when everyone laughs. If someone else knew this trick and looked at you to see who you were looking at and vice versa, you would both think you liked each other. If you ask someone a question and they only partially answer, just wait. If you stay silent and keep eye contact, they will usually continue talking. If you get yourself to be really happy and excited to see other people, they will react the same to you. It doesn't always happen the first time, but it will definitely happen next time. I learned this on here a few years ago. For anyone in customer service, all works for many different situations, but CS is a big one. Put a mirror behind you at the counter. This way angry customers who approach you will have to see themselves in the mirror behind you, and the chances of them behaving irrationally lower significantly. No one wants to see themselves act like a dickhead. This is one of the reasons why many bars install large mirrors behind them. The main reason is so the bartender can see who is where and if any new customers approach at all times. But there are other reasons as well. If you're ever tending bar and a customer approaches you directly and starts getting upset or angry, just take a deep breath and step slightly to either side and lean on the bar using either your right or left elbow only. If you move your head out of the way just fast enough to break eye contact, they will be briefly forced to stare at themselves. Even if you don't move fast enough, peripheral vision always seems to notice that familiar face. Also, leaning in puts you in a position of power for quite a few reasons. Only the proudest of assholes are immune. Chew gum when you're approaching a situation that would make you nervous, like public speaking or bungee jumping. I can't remember where I heard it, but apparently if we are eating something and our brains trip, and it reasons I would not be eating if I were danger. So I'm not in danger. Has helped calm me a few times. Pay attention to people's feet. If you approach two people in the middle of a conversation, and they only turn their torsos and not their feet, they don't want you to join in the conversation. Similarly, if you are in a conversation with a co-worker who you think is paying attention to you and their torso is turned towards you but their feet are facing in another direction, they want the conversation to end. You should check out Carol Kinsey Goman's research on these types of things in the workplace.